When we began talking about layers, I indicated that at that point we were going to put all of our entities on specific layers, and we were not going to be drawing on layer 0 anymore. And I indicated that layer 0 was a special layer and that there were a few instances where we did create entities and leave them on layer 0. The reason I mentioned that is because now that we're about to create blocks, we want them to be on layer 0 before we actually go through the process of creating them. And you'll see why in just a moment. So let's begin by creating a block out of this refrigerator. What I'm going to do first is select the objects, and you notice I did an implied window. All of the objects are selected, and I'm going to place them on layer 0. That's my first step in creating a block. Now I'm going to tap the escape key. Now I want to go ahead and create the block. So I'm going to select the icon called Make Block, and I'm going to click on it, and it opens up the block definition window. What in fact we're going to do is we're going to define a block very much like a dictionary defines a word. It contains a lot of parts, and they come together to form the one word, or in our case to form the one object. So we need to give this block definition a name. So I am going to call it REF for refrigerator. I could spell the whole word out, but I'm just showing you the option of just making some of your names a little bit shorter. So leaving the name as REF for refrigerator. The next thing I have to do is place or select all of the different options. There is no particular order to follow. For example, right now I was ready to select the base point. I could do that first, or I can select the objects. It doesn't matter which comes first. You only want to have selected all of your options before clicking OK. I'm going to begin by selecting what's called a base point. When we were moving objects, when we were rotating them, we always selected them from a base point. What we want to do now is give this block that base point. And what I'm going to do is click on this button that indicates pick point, and when I do that, it takes me back out to my drawing screen. And typically I use the lower left hand corner as the base point. What I'm going to do now is click, and as you can see, I come back and it indicates the X coordinate at that location was 7 foot 3 inches, the Y coordinate was 7 feet 11, and the Z remains 0. So that's the base point. Next, I want to select the objects that will define this block. So I'm going to click on the button for Select Objects, and I'm going to window the objects. As you can see, all 5 were found. Now I'm going to right click. So far we've picked the base point and we've picked the objects. Below Select Objects, you want to have the radio button selected that indicates Convert to Block. Below that, going to Preview Icon, it's a good idea to create icon from block geometry. So that is selected. Below that, drag and drop units. Again, we're working with architectural units, and our base unit of measurement is inches, so I'm leaving that selected. Under description, I can give this a written description of what it is. And this is where I'll type refrigerator. I could always give it dimensions, say 30 inches by 30 inches. And next, I'm going to select OK. Hyperlink just refers to the fact that I can put a link on this object. For example, if it was based on a manufacturer, I can apply their web link so that when somebody looks at the drawing, they would click on the object and it would take them to that site. but we're going to skip this option for now. We're going to focus on just creating a block. Now I'm going to select OK. When I do that, I have converted it to a block. How do I know that? Let's select the move option and pick one of the lines. And as you can see, I select the entire object. Let me tap the escape key, and I'm going to do a list on the object, and I'm going to pick it and then right click. As you can see, it tells us block reference. It currently resides on layer A dim, and there's the name of our block, REF. Now, prior to creating the block, it was on layer 0, and the color was the color of layer 0, which was white. The minute I created the block, AutoCAD converted it to a single entity, and it placed that single entity on the current layer. And our current layer right now happens to be a dim. What I'd like to do is select the object and place it on the fixed layer. Notice when I do that, it takes on the color properties of that layer. The reason for that is because I created the block when it was on layer 0. And as you can see, it has a grip point. This is the insertion of the block. And if I wanted to, I can select it and edit the block from this location. And that's how we create a block.